Hollywood is reeling after Danny DeVito, the beloved everyman of film and television, was forcibly removed from the set of Jimmy Kimmel Live in a jaw-dropping confrontation nobody saw coming. What was meant to be a lighthearted promotional visit quickly spiraled into a fiery clash that exposed a side of Jimmy Kimmel few had ever seen, shattering his polished late-night persona. In a stunning display of blatant disrespect, Kimmel pushed DeVito to the breaking point, turning what should have been a routine interview into a spectacle of hostility. Insiders are spilling the tea, and this isn't just gossip. It's a raw look behind the power struggles that define late-night television. Stick around as we unpack the shocking details. And be sure to subscribe and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this story reveals the real Jimmy Kimmel, like never before. According to crew members who witnessed the chaos, the trouble began well before DeVito even stepped on stage. The veteran actor arrived at the studio in his usual good spirits, cracking jokes with staff and sharing stories from his decades in the industry. Danny was a total pro, one lighting technician recalled. He was asking people's names, thanking us for our work, just making everyone feel at ease. DeVito was there to promote his latest project, a gritty indie film generating Oscar buzz, and he seemed genuinely excited to share it with Kimmel's audience. But the vibe shifted the moment Kimmel arrived, barely an hour before taping. Sources say the host was in a foul mood, snapping at his team and brushing off DeVito during their brief pre-show meeting. Jimmy didn't even make eye contact. A production assistant revealed. He was complaining about the segment order, saying he didn't have time to deal with another self-important actor. It was so uncalled for. This frosty reception set the stage for what would become a masterclass in unprofessionalism. When the show started, the audience immediately sensed something was off. Kimmel's introduction of DeVito was flat, lacking the warmth or humor he usually reserves for A-list guests. As DeVito bounded onto the stage, his infectious energy lit up the room, but Kimmel barely stood to greet him, offering a half-hearted handshake that felt like a mere formality. The contrast couldn't have been starker. DeVito, all charm and gratitude. Kimmel, visibly detached and itching for a fight. The interview opened with typical questions about DeVito's new film, but it didn't take long for Kimmel's tone to sour. Instead of engaging with the project, he veered into oddly personal territory, asking about DeVito's early career struggles in a way that felt more like a jab than genuine curiosity. "You've been at this forever, Danny." Kimmel smirked. "Ever think about slowing down? Maybe let the younger guys take the spotlight?" The audience chuckled nervously. DeVito, ever the professional, deflected with a laugh. "I'm just getting started, Jimmy. This business keeps you young if you love it." Kimmel wasn't satisfied. "Sure," he pressed, "but let's be real. Some of those early roles, didn't you play a lot of weirdos and losers?" The question landed like a punch. DeVito's smile faltered for a split second before he replied steadily. "I played characters with heart. Every role's a chance to tell a story, whether it's a king or a cab driver." The audience applauded, but Kimmel's expression tightened, his eyes narrowing, annoyed that DeVito hadn't taken the bait. Insiders later noted Kimmel seemed determined to unsettle his guest. "He gets like that sometimes," a stage manager confided. "If a guest doesn't play into his shtick, he starts poking harder, as if to prove he's in control. And that's exactly what happened next." Kimmel shifted gears abruptly, bringing up a decades-old rumor about DeVito's behavior on the set of a classic sitcom. "So, Danny," Kimmel said, voice dripping with accusation, "there's this story. You used to throw tantrums when things didn't go your way. Care to clear that up?" The question came out of left field, and the audience fell silent, sensing the mood had shifted from playful to pointed. DeVito leaned back in his chair, his trademark grin replaced by calm defiance. "Jimmy, I've been in this game over 50 years," he said steadily. "You hear all kinds of stories, most of them nonsense. Anyone who's worked with me knows I show up, do the work, and treat people right." His response was measured but carried an edge, a warning that Kimmel chose to ignore. "Oh, come on, Danny," Kimmel pressed with a smirk. "Don't be so modest." Kimmel leaned forward, pressing his point. "You're telling me you've never lost it on set?" "Not even once," DeVito replied coolly. Kimmel scoffed. "I find that hard to believe." The tension in the room thickened, nearly palpable. DeVito tilted his head, studying Kimmel like a seasoned opponent. "I'm saying I don't waste energy on drama, Jimmy. I save that for the performance. Maybe you should try it sometime." The audience erupted in applause, some even cheering, but Kimmel's forced smile didn't reach his eyes. He leaned back, visibly rattled, but refusing to back down. "Wow, okay, tough guy," he said, dripping with sarcasm. "Guess you're just too perfect for the rest of us." The segment teetered on the edge. DeVito, still composed, tried to steer the conversation back to his film, sharing a heartfelt story about working with the young director, only for Kimmel to cut him off mid-sentence. Yeah, that's great," Kimmel interrupted. "But let's talk about something juicier. You and your wife, Rhea. You've been together forever. What's the secret? Or do you just put up with each other for the cameras?" The question, laced with condescension, tightened DeVito's jaw. The audience shifted uncomfortably, sensing the host's increasingly aggressive tone. "I'll tell you what, Jimmy," DeVito said, voice low but firm. "Rhea and I have built a life together, raised kids, made art. That's not a punchline. It's real. I'm here to talk about my work, not feed your tabloid fantasies." The rebuke was sharp. The audience applauded again, this time louder. Kimmel, visibly thrown, tried to laugh it off. "Oh, relax, Danny. It's just a joke. You know, comedy. This is a comedy show." But the room wasn't laughing. Backstage, the producer was frantically signaling to cut to commercial, sensing the segment was spiraling. As the break hit, the studio felt like a pressure cooker. DeVito sat silently, eyes fixed on the floor while his publicist whispered urgently in his ear. Across the stage, Kimmel huddled with his executive producer, gesturing animatedly, face flushed with agitation. Crew members later revealed the producer begged Kimmel to dial it back, warning the segment was veering into dangerous territory. But Kimmel, defiant, brushed off the advice, muttering something about not letting DeVito run the show. The audience, still buzzing from the tense exchange, could feel the storm brewing as the countdown to live resumed. When the cameras rolled, again, Kimmel plastered on a brittle smile, barely holding it together. DeVito sat upright, expression unreadable but resolute, like a man who decided he wouldn't be pushed around anymore. Kimmel kicked off the segment with a forced joke about the weather, trying to reset the mood. But the audience's response was tepid. He quickly pivoted back to DeVito, crushing any hope of a fresh start. "So, Danny," Kimmel said, mockery lacing his tone, "you're this big-shot producer now, right? Always sunny. Don't you ever get tired of playing the boss, ordering everyone around?" The jab was blatant, painting DeVito as an overbearing tyrant. DeVito didn't flinch. "Producing is about collaboration, Jimmy," he said evenly. "It's about bringing people together to make something great. I don't order anyone around. I work with folks who share the vision." His calm delivery only seemed to irritate Kimmel further. "Sure," Kimmel pressed, leaning in like a prosecutor. "But you've got a reputation. People say you're, let's say, intense. Like you don't take no for an answer. That true?" The audience shifted, sensing the hostility creeping back in. "I'm passionate, Jimmy." DeVito's eyes narrowed slightly, but his voice stayed steady. "When you care about something, you fight for it. You'd know that if you ever took a risk on anything original." The dig landed hard, a subtle jab at Kimmel's formulaic late-night routine. The audience let out a mix of gasps and cheers. Kimmel's smile vanished. "Oh, wow, okay," he said, voice tight. So now you're the artist and I'm just some hack, huh? That's rich coming from a guy who's been milking the same sitcom for 20 years. Kimmel's personal attack landed like a blow, and for the first time, DeVito's composure flickered. "It's still on because people love it," DeVito shot back steadily. "We take chances, tell stories others won't touch. What's the last thing you did that scared you, Jimmy? Besides bombing in front of your own audience?" The room erupted. Some clapped, others murmured in shock. Kimmel's face reddened, his grip tightening on the desk as if to anchor himself. "I don't think I'm untouchable," DeVito said quietly, but the producer backstage was visibly panicked, waving frantically at the director to cut. But Kimmel barreled on, snapping. "You know what, Danny? I don't need lectures from you. I've been doing this show for years, dealing with egos bigger than yours. You think you're untouchable because you're some Hollywood legend. Newsflash. Legends fade." The audience fell silent, stunned by the venom in Kimmel's voice. DeVito leaned forward, his small frame radiating intensity that filled the stage. "I don't think I'm untouchable, Jimmy. I think I deserve respect. Same as anyone who walks through that door. You're the one acting like you're above it all." Kimmel scoffed and rolled his eyes. "Respect? You want respect? Try not sending your team with a laundry list of demands before you even show up. Don't ask this, don't mention that. What? Are you hiding, Danny?" The accusation was a low blow, implying DeVito was a diva dodging scrutiny. DeVito's jaw clenched, but he kept his cool. "My team coordinates with yours to make a good show," he said evenly. "That's how it works. If you got a problem with that, take it up with them, not me." "Oh, I'm taking it up with you right now," Kimmel shot back, voice rising. "This is my stage, my rules. You don't get to waltz in here and act like you're doing me a favor." The audience was dead silent now, the air thick with discomfort. DeVito stared at Kimmel, unblinking. "I came here to talk about a film I'm proud of," he said, voice low but cutting. "If you're not interested, maybe I should find a host who is." The threat hung in the air. For a moment, it seemed DeVito might walk off. Then the producer, now practically sprinting toward the stage, signaled for another commercial break, and the cameras cut just as Kimmel opened his mouth to fire back. The second break did little to cool the inferno backstage. DeVito's team was in crisis mode, debating whether to pull him from the segment entirely. But DeVito remained seated, his face a mask of steely resolve, as he waved off his publicist's urgent pleas to leave. "I'm not running," he reportedly said, voice quiet but firm. On the other side, Kimmel paced, ignoring desperate producer attempts to get him to apologize or at least pivot to safer ground. "He's not going to make me look like the bad guy," Kimmel snapped loud enough for crew nearby to hear. The stage manager later said the tension was so thick it felt like the air had been sucked out of the room. When the show resumed, the audience was on edge, their earlier enthusiasm replaced by nervous anticipation. Kimmel, now visibly unhinged, didn't bother with pleasantries. He leaned forward, eyes locked on DeVito like a predator sizing prey. "All right, Danny, let's cut the crap," he said sharply. "You keep acting like you're above all this. But let's talk about the real you. What's with all the shady business deals? Word is, you've got a habit of screwing over your partners." The accusation dropped like a bombshell. The audience gasped audibly. DeVito's expression hardened, but he didn't rise to the bait. "That's a serious claim, Jimmy," he said, low and deliberate. "Got any proof? Or just throwing mud to see what sticks?" The challenge was clear, and Kimmel faltered briefly, clearly unprepared for DeVito's directness. "I'm just saying what people say," Kimmel backpedaled, smirk faltering. "You've been around forever. You can't tell me there's no dirt." DeVito leaned forward, gaze piercing. "People say a lot of things, Jimmy. Doesn't make them true. I've built my career on trust, not betrayal. You want to talk dirt? Look in your own backyard." The audience roared, some even standing. Kimmel's face twisted with rage. "Oh, that's cute," he shot back. "You're going to lecture me about trust? With your whole lovable Danny act? Give me a break. Everyone in this town knows it's just a front." The personal attack was relentless, and DeVito's patience finally snapped. He stood up, his small stature somehow commanding the entire stage. "I've had enough, Jimmy," he said, voice booming with authority that silenced the room. "I came here to talk about my work, not to be your punching bag," DeVito said, voice steady but firm. "You want to play dirty? Fine, but don't come crying when it bites you." Kimmel laughed, but it was hollow. His confidence cracked. He turned to leave. "Cracking already? You're going to storm off now?" Typical. Can't handle a real conversation. DeVito didn't move. "A conversation goes two ways, Jimmy," he said calmly. "What you're doing is a tantrum. I'm done with it." He started to walk away, and the audience erupted into cheers, chanting, "Danny! Danny!" Kimmel, now visibly panicked, jumped to his feet and shouted over the noise, "Yeah, go ahead, run! That's what you do when it gets tough, right?" Tough. Taunt was desperate. DeVito paused, then turned back slowly, eyes blazing. "You think I'm running?" His voice cut through the chaos. "I'm walking away because I've got better things to do than entertain your ego. You're not a host, Jimmy. You're a bully who's forgotten how to do his job." The words landed like a sledgehammer. Kimmel's face went pale. The producer rushed onto the stage to intervene, but Kimmel shoved past him. "You don't get to talk to me like that," he shouted, his voice cracking. "This is my show." DeVito stepped closer, unfazed. "Then act like it. Stop embarrassing yourself." The audience was on its feet, some cheering, others stunned into silence. The director, realizing the segment was beyond saving, cut to commercial again, but not before the cameras caught Kimmel's stricken expression and DeVito's unflinching stare. Backstage chaos erupted as security appeared, seemingly at Kimmel's behest, to escort DeVito out. "You need to come with us," one guard said. DeVito raised a hand. "I'm leaving on my terms," he said, calm but unyielding. The guards hesitated, unsure how to handle the situation, while DeVito's team rallied behind him, ready to back their leader. The backstage corridor was a war zone of egos and adrenaline. Flanked by his team, DeVito moved toward the exit with quiet dignity, head held high despite the security trailing him. Crew members, some shaking their heads at Kimmel's meltdown, parted to let him pass, whispering words of support. Kimmel stormed after them, tie skewed, face a mask of fury and desperation. "Danny, hold up," he called, voice echoing down the hall. "You don't get to just walk out like that." DeVito didn't break stride, but his publicist shot Kimmel a look that could stop traffic, signaling this wasn't the time for round two. The head of security, caught between Kimmel's orders and the optics of manhandling a Hollywood legend, stepped in to block DeVito's path. "Mr. DeVito, we need you to wait. Jimmy wants to talk this out." DeVito stopped, turned slowly to face the guard, his presence somehow towering despite his stature. "Talk's over," he said, voice steady but steel-edged. "Unless you're planning to physically stop me, I'm leaving. Your call." The guard glanced at Kimmel, who hovered behind, then at the producer frantically shaking his head. After a tense moment, the guard stepped aside. DeVito continued toward the exit. Kimmel, unwilling to let go, pushed forward. "Come on, Danny, don't be like this," he said, voice shifting to a forced calm, as if trying to salvage his image. "It's just TV. We got heated, it happens. Let's shake hands and move on." DeVito paused at the exit doors, hand on the handle, then turned back one last time. "Jimmy, you don't get it," he said quietly, piercingly. "This isn't about heat. It's about respect. You disrespected me, your audience, and every person who works for you tonight. That's not television. That's you failing at your job." The words hung heavy in the air, and Kimmel's facade crumbled. His voice rose in frustration, sputtering. "I've been doing this for decades. You think you can come in here and lecture me just because you made a few movies?" DeVito didn't flinch. "I think I can call out nonsense when I see it," he replied coolly. "You had a chance to do something real tonight, to have a conversation. Instead, you turned it into a circus. That's on you." With that, he pushed through the doors, his team close behind, leaving Kimmel standing in the hallway, speechless for the first time all night. The fallout was immediate. Clips of the confrontation exploded across social media like a tidal wave, racking up millions of views before the show even finished airing. Hashtags like Kimmel Unraveled and Our Team Danny trended worldwide as fans, and industry insiders dissected Kimmel's meltdown. Crew members, emboldened by DeVito's stand, began leaking stories about Kimmel's backstage behavior, berating staff, dismissing guests' boundaries, and throwing tantrums when challenged. One anonymous writer claimed Kimmel had a playbook for breaking down guests who didn't play along, a tactic he'd tried on DeVito, with disastrous results. By morning, the network was in damage control mode. A vague statement announced a brief hiatus for Jimmy Kimmel Live, citing scheduling adjustments. But insiders revealed executives were furious, with some pushing to suspend Kimmel indefinitely. True to form, DeVito stayed above the fray. His team released a short statement. Danny appreciates the support and is focused on his upcoming projects. When pressed for comment, DeVito only said, "I said what I needed to say," before returning to his film's press tour. The incident reshaped Hollywood's view of Kimmel. Publicists began blacklisting his show, wary of exposing clients to his unpredictable attacks. Ratings plummeted when the show returned, with viewers citing Kimmel's mean streak as a major turnoff. In industry circles, pulling a DeVito became shorthand for standing up to a bully, with grace and grit. Testament to the actor's unshakable resolve. For DeVito's fans, it was a reminder of why they admired him. Not just for his talent, but for his integrity in a town that often rewarded the opposite. Kimmel tried to spin the narrative, posting a half-hearted apology on social media, blaming miscommunication and passionate discussion. It backfired spectacularly. Comments flooded in, praising DeVito's class and calling out Kimmel's deflection. The mask was off. No amount of PR could hide the cracks in Kimmel's carefully curated image. The confrontation exposed a truth Hollywood had whispered about for years. Beneath the affable host was a man who thrived on control and crumbled when challenged. What do you make of this wild clash between Danny DeVito and Jimmy Kimmel? Was Kimmel way out of line? Or did DeVito push back too hard? Drop your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to subscribe for more unfiltered Hollywood stories. Hit that notification bell so you never miss a video. We'll catch you in the next one.